Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be going through the Uncanny X-Men 251. Really because I'm still on this Deadpool Wolverine kick, and this cover is iconic, and it's shown in the movie, and I was just having a hankering to reread it and really see what was up, and try to go through memory lane and all that cool stuff, and just really go through some older X-Men. I'll probably go even further back and go into some really old X-Men at some point. I really kind of just want to go through this one and give you my thoughts and whatnot. But before we do that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. That's not Random Access, that's Mutandis. It's a 12-page, full-size, sometimes full color, sometimes not. I'm going to be going back to full color. It's black and white right now. But you can get these at patreon.com/AlexTurbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, and pick these up because they're all available on there, as well as the Mutandis and the Forlorn and all kinds of other stuff that I've done previously in my creative endeavors. Or you can just message me at alexturbin04401 at Instagram. Yeah. And plus that's also my email at Yahoo. So you can get copies pretty easily by just contacting me anyway. So the Uncanny X-Men 251. This is 1989. I was junior or sophomore? Junior. No, I wasn't even in high school yet. I graduated in 92. So that's 2, 4, 80, 88, 89. So yeah, I was a junior, I guess, in high school. And I was loving the X-Men just like I always have. And but it was really kind of a turning point for me with the X-Men because this was really when Jim Lee kind of came into the picture, and Silvestri and Mark Silvestri, and Claremont really, I think he was losing his marbles. He had like a ton of plot threads that really kind of didn't go anywhere, and I kind of think that he was just spread a little too thin. This was going bi-monthly or bi-weekly or whatever, and he was also writing New Mutants and some other stuff. So I think maybe he was being spread a little too thin. And I saw a documentary a little while ago that he was talking about this period and when he was forced out, because it wasn't too much after this that just a regular X-Men title was released, and that really kind of was the fall of Chris Claremont as the guiding creative force of the X-Men, which is really too bad because I really think that he was the linchpin in. I mean, we basically know that. Yeah, I mean, how long did he write the X-Men? He wrote it forever, and he created almost all of the great storylines that we remember and cherish. There's a lot of other new storylines that came out after him that they're actually showing in X-Men 97, and that's really cool. That's awesome, and I love a lot of those. Wolverine losing his adamantium and all that stuff, but it's a lot of, in those stories, it's a lot of things happening. It's a lot of I talk a lot about when you're doing a comic book and it's event, where it's not really great writing, but maybe something cool will happen. But really, if it doesn't have a great storyline, great plot, great writing to go along with these great events, then really, what's the point? I mean, sure, it was really awesome that Wolverine lost his adamantium, or it was taken from him, and that was really cool. And actually, I do really like that storyline. But then there's other stories and plots and stuff where, yeah, it's cool, but it's not written really as well as it could have been, and it just becomes non-memorable, which is really kind of too bad. you have to have, life-changing events. They also have to be well written. So let's get into this. And like I said, this is 1989, and I am a junior in high school, and I am just loving it. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mark Silvestri first. I really am not and have not been a big fan of Silvestri. Um, I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's because, I don't know. He's very flowing. He's very organic. He's very, by all circumstances, I should love his art, but there's just something about it that I don't love. I like it. I'm not going to say Silvestri is a bad artist, because anybody with a half of an artistic eye can tell that he's a, a really good artist. But at the same time, some artists just jive with you, some don't. Another artist that a lot of people like, and I'm really not into, is John Bogdanov. Didn't really care for his stuff, and a lot of artists I love that some people don't love. I know that some people don't love Bill Sienkiewicz, which that's just craziness to me. But I think he's fantastic. So we have Wolverine, and Fever Dream is the name of the issue, and he's you starts the page starts the story starts with just a shot of his face, and he's beaten, and he's all sweaty. I guess, I mean, that's, you could kind of infer that. You could also infer that he got spit on, or he's wet, or I don't know. But this yellow background throughout the whole comic, there's lots of really stark yellow, and that's really the same kind of thing that I did with one of my comics, my Death Knight story. I really wanted it because it takes place in the during the Crusades, and I really wanted that really harsh yellow light to be really almost a secondary character in the book, and that's kind of what goes on here. So it's Wolverine, and let's see who's it was written by Chris Claremont, of course, with the art by Mark Silvestri and Dan Green, and letters by Tom Orchowski, and colorist Glynis Oliver. Um, Someday I'm going to go through Dan Green's inking, because he's been one of the great inkers, along with Terry Austin, of a lot of really great X-Men artists. And I really feel like the inkers have a lot to do with how great or how kind of not so great an artist is. Um, so yeah, someday I'm really going to go through mostly Terry Austin and Dan Green, and kind of explore what they've contributed mostly to the X-Men. Um, but we have there's the classic pose of Wolverine on the X, just like the cover. This is like a classic X-Men cover, and he's being taunted by Oliver Trask. Oliver Trask? Trask. I can't remember his name. What am I, a moron? Anyway, so he's being taunted by Trask, and he's one of the Reavers, or he's the head Reaver. He's the one that gives all of the Reavers their electronics, their bionics, their mechanisms, all of that stuff. Except I don't really understand that Lady Deathstrike, wasn't she formed by Mojo? So I think I might have to go back. I think that's in isn't that in 205, where she is given her adamantium claws and stuff by Mojo? Um, somebody out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm also going to go back and look and see if I can really kind of tell what was going on there. Anyway, she's one of the Reavers, and in 205 they fight Wolverine, and he slices and dices and does what he's good at. So Trask smashes his face, and he taunts him, and he gives him a hard time. Apparently, they ambushed Wolverine. It kind of goes back through that. After Trask is he's still smashing Wolverine in the face and doing all this taunting and being mean to him and all that stuff, which is a large majority of the comic. Maybe maybe too much of the next three issues. I was just reading a review of these three issues, which I guess is the story arc of Wolverine and the Reavers and him escaping from the Reavers and stuff. I think what Chris Claremont was really aiming for was bringing Wolverine's power and his character back to Earth. He was almost unkillable and almost too godlike. And I think Claremont, wisely so, wanted to bring him back down to Earth, give him some weaknesses, give him some things that he really needed to accomplish to become a hero. And really, that is one of Claremont's probably greatest achievements in the comics medium is bringing these heroes down, and much like Frank Miller. Frank Miller is great at bringing the hero down and then rising them up to face the challenge. And I mean, how much more of bringing a character down and rising up is than the Phoenix? That's pretty classic Claremontisms and Claremont type storyline. But another one of the things that I want to talk about is because let's face it, the whole plot of this storyline is not much. Like I said, the Reavers catch Wolverine unaware as he's going back to the X-Men encampment in Australia, which I hate it. I really hate it when the X-Men are not at Westchester County. That is just their home. That's where they're supposed to be. It sucks when they're, on an asteroid or in San Francisco or in, anywhere that they're just plain old not supposed to be. They are supposed to be at their home in New York, and if they're not there, then as far as I'm concerned, it's not really X-Men-ish. I think it goes away from that. I know that storylines have to kind of change and they have to bend and break and go different ways, and the X-Men in comic books, but the X-Men in particular, I think they've had not the X-Men in particular, because there's more Batmans and Supermans, but there's been so many storylines, so many plot lines, so many characters that you just have to, you have to take them in completely different directions. And I think a lot of times writers are just like, what do we do now? Where are they going to go now? What challenges have we had them face, or what new challenges can we give them that they haven't already faced? And that's one of Claremont's great Claremontisms, is that one of the biggest challenges is their own ego, id, state of mind, everything like that, which is really what this is all about. Because the Reavers, yes, they have Wolverine captured. They broke him. They captured him. They put him on this giant X. They're smashing him around. They're torturing him and stuff. But really, it's the fever dreams, just like the title says, that brings Wolverine sees all of these other characters, all of the other X-Men that have been in his life, and all these other characters that have been in his life, and he knows that it's a dream. He knows that it's a fever, that he's hallucinating, but he also he's into it. It's like, when you're hallucinating, you don't always know that you're hallucinating. You have to have a certain amount of self-awareness, which Wolverine does, but he also kind of loses the self-awareness in his hanging on the cross, on the X rather, and being in the sun all day and being tortured and beaten and stuff like that. But like I said, that's Claremont doing Claremont things, which is, and Wolverine, he does this to Wolverine in particular because he is so tortured. Like I said, that's one of my favorite things, and that's what I think a lot of other readers of the X-Men's favorite thing is about Wolverine, is the fact that he is so tortured and complicated and beaten down. He's always beaten down. He's always, battered and bruised and damaged. So he keeps seeing these characters. He sees Psylocke as an amalgam of her and Lady Deathstrike, and she kills Gateway. And does anyone else think that Gateway was a complete completely wasted character. He never spoke. All he did was teleport people. Was there ever a Gateway storyline where it was just either just him, or it told his origin, or it said why he helped the X-Men or anything? Because I don't remember it, and I have read a lot of X-Men. So if anybody can come up with any kind of thing that is Gateway positive, I guess, let me know, because I he was so almost a token, almost a black token character, but even not even token, because he did nothing. He teleported people. It's just he's just a weird character, and I never had the chance to like him. You never had the chance to like him because they're in Australia, then they leave. Gateway's never talked about again, never heard from again. I don't know. Maybe in the modern X-Men storylines they've talked about Gateway. I don't know. But anyway, Wolverine goes through these fever dreams of all of these characters. They're doing horrible things. They're saying horrible things. The X-Men come back and they leave. I mean, even Sabretooth is in his dreams, and he kind of rips through his body of Psylocke and kind of gives Wolverine a hard time. And this is where they do the flashback of how Logan should have been more aware of the Reavers there, and they caught him unawares, and that wasn't like him, but he was so tired or whatever, and he thought he was so big and badass that even if they did catch him with his pants down, he could just snick his claws and take care of business and take care of the Reavers. But apparently they shot him with cables and stuff, much like Wolverine, not Origins, the Wolverine, the second one, I think, where the ninjas do that with the arrows. I think I might have to watch that again. And that's where Trask drags him up to the which I guess Trask has bionic arms, I think. So if he has bionic arms and legs, that's why he can carry Wolverine, because I think Wolverine is like 300 or 400 pounds with all of that adamantium laced stuff, which really I always thought, at Wolverine's bones are laced with adamantium. Does that mean they're covered with adamantium? And if so, adamantium is unbreakable. So you really could give like a hair thin coating of adamantium around his bones, and it would still do its job because it's still unbreakable, even if it's super thin. But is it unbendable? I don't know. Anyway, that's just my theory on adamantium and Wolverine. So he keeps having these fever dreams. Ogun, the character from, I think, Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I never actually read that. I have the first couple issues, and I think I read a couple issues, but I didn't actually finish it. Because let's face it, it's no Wolverine miniseries. So it's a combination of Sabretooth and Ogun, and Logan is just having this whole he's just fantasizing, he's hallucinating, all of this stuff. Yeah. Eventually Kitty Pryde comes into the pictures and she cuts him down, and that's when the X-Men talk about, I don't know if this was real, where the X-Men come and then they leave because Psylocke forces them with her mental powers to kind of give up being the X-Men. I don't know if that actually happens. I'm going to have to reread some more issues. But the Reavers are going to go attack the X-Men, and then they stop because they realize they're just leaving. And like I said, I'm not entirely sure if this is just a hallucination or not. I don't think it is, because she leaves a little piece of the gateway, which I don't know where she turns the gateway small, something like that. No, her necklace turns into the gateway, and then they leave, they go through the Siege Perilous, and then she's the last one there, and or her and Dazzler and Havoc, and then he leaves, and then the Reavers are about to pounce, and she gives some spiel about how they can't follow them, and then the Siege Perilous turns into this little mirror thing. So I don't know if this really happened. I don't think it did, but I don't know. I might have to go and go through each X-Men issue just so I'll know exactly what was going on, because I haven't read this since I don't know. I've reread X-Men often enough, but last time I really read it was in '89, so that's quite a long time ago. Um, so anyway, the whole story is just him having these fever dreams, him having these hallucinations, and Jubilee. I don't know where Jubilee was from, how she got there, and how she uh, got into the picture or whatever, but she's kind of watching this whole thing go along. I think that this was basically their introduction of Jubilee as the replacement for Shadowcat, the replacement for Kitty Pryde. And so they kind of had to put her through the ringer and have her help Wolverine, because it basically builds that Wolverine and Jubilee slash Batman Robin sidekick hero kind of thing that was eventually develops. And so she's going to go and she's going to help him. The Reavers, uh, there's a big storm coming. I don't know if it's really storm or there just happens to be a storm, but there's a hallucination with storm. And it's one of the funny things is that you can really see how all of these things become connected, all of the plot lines. Storm becomes young. That's a foreshadowing for the whole Gambit storyline, where she turns young, and Gambit kind of comes into the picture and stuff. So that's really pretty cool, because one of the great things about Claremont and Claremontisms is that, yes, he will have plot strings that, that he lets go and runs along, but he also can tie them together, decades later, or, almost decades, 7 or 8 years later, he'll be like, oh yeah, Nimrod's gonna come into this, and he was, just showed up, 10 years earlier or something like that. So that's pretty cool that they kind of have this foreshadowing for what Storm is going through. Is that after she goes through the Siege Perilous? I'm not entirely sure. So then it ends with Jubilee, and Wolverine is in the rain, and she goes up to him, and finally, I guess maybe the rain rejuvenates him or whatever, and he breaks through, and he breaks off of the giant X, and he knows who she is. He's not crazy. He knows who she is, and he wants to get some help from her, and so that's basically how it ends. So not a whole lot goes on in this issue, and not a whole lot has to go on, because there has to be issues like this, because one of the greatest things about the X-Men in Claremont is that he really delves into the characterization and characters more than the plots and the action and all that stuff. So the focus of this issue is not the hallucinations that Wolverine's having. It's the thought that he has all of these backstories with these characters. He has all of this angst and subtext and all this stuff going on. So really the whole point of the issue and the next two issues is the development of Wolverine as a character, and developing him as a he needs weaknesses. He has weaknesses. He's not, he is awesome, but he also has weaknesses. So like I said, I'm not a huge Mark Silvestri fan. I know a lot of people think he's great. He's got some nice texture. He's got some nice facial expressions. I think maybe it's just that he's too loose. I think that might be one of my issues with him, is his looseness, which is crazy, because I love loose artists. Walter Simonson is my favorite artist of all time, and he's super loose. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't hate him, but I just don't think, I wouldn't say he's even in my top 25 favorite artists. He might be in my top 50. I'm not sure. I might have to make a list of my top 50 favorite artists. So anyway, here's Uncanny X-Men 251. It's got a great cover. That's why it's a famous issue. That's why everybody loves it. The storyline really isn't a whole lot going on there. It's not because Claremont's a bad writer. It's not because Silvestri a bad artist. It's just there's sometimes you have to have these stories where it takes the character away from the big events. It takes them away from the big plots and the big storylines, and just focuses in on their psyche and their characterization in their own little world, which is one of the great things that Claremont has done, and would probably continue to do if he still wrote either the X-Men or anything else. But anyway, I love this issue. I'm not reviewing it. As far as I'm concerned, all X-Men get 10s. That's not really true. I just lied. There's a bunch of X-Men that aren't 10s. But anyway, um, I love it. Anything with Claremont is a 10. That is I'm gonna say every Claremont issue is a 10, and I love them. So let me know if you want me to go through some more Uncanny X-Men books, or if you or I have a hankering to see something else, or if you have this issue and what you think, or if you don't like it at all, and just let me know in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell and all that cool stuff. I normally review indie comics and stuff like that from the early 90s and 80s and stuff. But I love me some X-Men, and I love me some Marvel, and I love the mainstream comics as much as the indie comics. So let me know if you have anything that you would like seen gone over, and I will definitely consider it. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.